I'll go ahead and start with a quick introduction. So first of all, thank you everybody. Thank you for hosting this event and thank you for having me. Um, I would like to introduce myself by repeating what was just said. My name is Tony Mametbekov. I'm a principal sales engineer, company called Uniform, strictly working in Americas. Um, prior to my uh, Prior to this, I was working for different consulting agencies and I have extensive experience um, working and implementing different CMS systems. And latest one was primarily Sitecore. And that is what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about Sitecore and how can we adopt Jamstack architectural approach for Sitecore. So first, I would like to start off by kind of starting with this statement, right? What is Jamstack? And you probably heard a lot about Jamstack and what it does, and different people have their own way of presenting it and talking about Jamstack. But this is probably the best definition, and it's from that's the source where I got it from. So Jamstack is an architecture designed to make the web faster, more secure, and easier to scale. It builds on many of the tools and workflows which developers love and which brings maximum productivity. So I think this statement pretty much defines our presentation today, what we're going to be talking about. So let's think about Jamstack as an architectural approach. So first, what are these letters stand for? And kind of let's go into that one more time. Maybe it's repetitive for some, but maybe it's new for some folks. So J represents JavaScript, and it allows you to keep your, even though you're going to be building a static site when you're doing Jamstack, you still need to have your dynamic functionality, and JavaScript will kind of take care of that. API is a kind of your server-side process of database actions and kind of abstract into your APIs, and you're accessing them via HTTP with JavaScript. So the API is kind of your piece of where you're going to be getting your data from. Either it's a headless CMS or it's some um, some service that you're interacting with. That's your kind of API. And markup M is kind of your templated side. Like how does it really come together, right? Like because we need to generate it, we need to use some kind of a generator or a tool to build it, make it all kind of marry it all together, right? So you might also ask a question, well, who's using Jamstack? Who, like, it's just people talking about it, but who really uses it? So Netlify has registered and reported about 1 million developers in, I think, November 2020. And the big, large organizations that have adopted this architectural approach are such companies as TikTok, Hulu, Ticketmaster, Hilton, and that page on nextjs.org slash showcase kind of has a big list of companies and pretty big brands that are using it. So one of the most popular static site generators that's built on top of React framework is Next.js. And that is also what we'll be covering today a bit. And when we think about Jamstack, like which technologies can be used with Jamstack. So uh, I couldn't fit all the logos on here, but Jamstack ecosystem is rapidly evolving and growing. Pretty much every day, there's a new tool that you can just use. And I listed some stuff here that's just, there's a lot of them. So there's different credit card process, there's different headless CMSs, there's different static site generators, there's different hosting providers, there's different frameworks, uh, orchestrator such as Uniform is one of them. And I mean, there's just so many commerce providers, and there's so many of them out there. So what are the benefits, right? What are the benefits of Jamstack, and why are we even talking about Jamstack? So one thing that you want to kind of keep in mind when you're talking about Jamstack, think about it, that the main thing is you're decoupling your front end from back end. So it was it's an evolving kind of architecture when we were talking about headless, right? So headless, you have your front end sitting separately from your back end, and there's a communication, and that allows you to adopt like front end technology. But Jamstack is kind of an evolution. You're still having a headless architecture, but now we're talking differently. We're talking about static site that is able to do some dynamic functionality, right? So that's where we're talking about performance. We're talking about higher security, because now if you're able to Jamstackify your site and make it static, then there's no connectivity to a database. If you don't have to go back to a database and you can just build that static site, and security is obviously is number one right there. You don't hacker cannot hack an HTML page. I mean, it's really hard to hack an HTML page. Let me rephrase it like that. And obviously cheaper and easier scaling. And I'm going to go into every one of these kind of uh, in the further slides. But yeah, cheap hosting, easier scaling because we're utilizing CDNs. So these are like the main benefits that you get when you're adopting a Jamstack architecture. So what about static site generator? So I'm going to be going around some slides, kind of diving into like certain areas of Jamstack when we're talking about so like some terminology, right? And kind of going back now to how does a static site generator is working? So let's say Next.js. So you have some templates and markup. That's like you have your um, data, and you're able to render it on a server. And at static site generator, what it will do, it will go ahead and build it when everything is available, and then make a static package out of it and deploy it to a CDN or a blob storage or wherever you want to serve it from. And then that becomes a static site. So essentially what we're doing, we're generating static pages, making sure they're all linked with each other and they can have a dynamic functionality, and you can easily navigate between a page. So nothing is being uh, uh, nothing, it's not, you're not going back to origin anymore. Everything is right there available for you. Okay, moving on. So now back to like decoupling, right? So how do we move from um, running stuff on the server to deploying it globally, right? So Jamstack deployment, pretty much what I just kind of went through, how we can like statically generate everything. So traditional setup, everything is on origin, and you're going back every time to every request. And then depending on your server, depending how fast or slow your server is, that will result for your customers and for your visitors on the site. They'll experience it based on what the origin servers are. So uh, so everything is kind of deployed globally, available globally, so it's not running on the server. So that's kind of the transition, that the shift that we're seeing of website development. So CDN, and all of these slides, I'm kind of setting up the stage because a lot of these things we face and we talk about as architects, as developers, when we're talking about Sitecore solution, because Sitecore is a very big CMS system. It has a lot of different moving pieces, and we're trying to utilize different technologies, right? And some technologies don't work fully because of some sort of dynamic functionality that Sitecore has. So caching and CDN. So how does it usually work? You receive a request from a client. It goes to CDN if you're utilizing CDN, and if a page is cached, it will serve it. If it's not cached, it'll go back to the server, it'll fetch it, and then store it on the CDN and deliver it to the client. So your first visitor will kind of feel the pain, and then everybody else will uh, have a very good experience. This is like ideal scenario, right? When you can utilize CDN, you can cache everything and then your performance is really fast. But if you have some dynamic functionality, some things are not able to just work the way it is. So again, rendered at runtime versus pre-rendered for speed, right? So that's the transition that we're moving towards, right? So rather than building content at runtime for each request, content is pre-built, optimized during build time by utilizing static site generator and then deploy. And a little kind of overview that I want to kind of highlight side by side is how do we differentiate different architectures? So we have a classic architecture where everything is kind of tightly coupled. You have communication going back from the user journey or the communication that going from a client all the way to back to the database. You go to a server, you have firewalls, you just go through all of that. Then if any one of those pieces of your eco or your structure has any problems, I mean, it affects the client, right? So how do we from classic architecture, we went to like a headless architecture, right? So we said, okay, let's go ahead and separate front end from back end, and we'll run our front end code, single page application on a different server, and then the client will communicate with that. But then you still have to kind of go back and communicate with your backend services. You still have, so if your database goes down, then the whole communication flow breaks, right? You're still dependent. So decoupled architecture and decoupling of the front end is the Jamstack way. So what does that mean? We essentially trying to like cut the cord, right? We're trying to say, okay, I built my site. I don't care what happens in my backend. I can now run maintenance and everything. I can do whatever I want. And my production site is just running from a CDN. It's all static. It's good to go, right? And this is how like most sites are built and blogs are built and simple site. But how do we take it to this to Sitecore, right? How do we, because we have so many things. We have personalization, we have analytics. We can't really cut the cord, right? Because we have to communicate back with it, right? So before we go there, I want to also touch on one more kind of topic that's really relevant to this conversation, because there's two main kind of big conversations right now that are happening in technology world, and when we're talking about these massive CMSs, DXPs, there's Jamstack and there's MACH architecture, right? So what is MACH architecture and what is Jamstack? What's the difference, right? So MACH is kind of you have a lot of microservices, it's all in the cloud, it's headless, and you communicating with, you having all the communication with API. So the definition is kind of application range is a collection of loosely coupled independent deployable services. So your MACH architecture is essentially is your headless architecture with microservices. So on the left, we got Jamstack. So everything is pre-rendered. Front end is pre-built, decoupled. It's into like a highly optimized static pages and assets, and everything happens during the build process. That's a key. Everything happens at build process. So you're utilizing CDN. Everything is pre-rendered, decoupled, and you got API. So the API is still needed there, because if you want to process credit cards, if you want to, I don't know, communicate something to a service or get some information from a service, you still have to have that functionality available. Otherwise, you can't really make static credit card processing. You just, yeah, you can't. So So I wanted to touch upon that as well. And now, with all of that uh, kind of introduction, let's talk about Jamstack and Sitecore, right? So, in order for us to do this in Sitecore, what do we need to do? We need to decouple front end to reduce dependency on Sitecore, pre-render your site to minimize the amount of work that must be performed on the origin, and origin, uh, just backend server. Origin is your origin servers, and I don't know why I stopped on that, but the origin is, I don't know, some people in the audience might not like to use origin. They like to use backend server. Origin is your like origin server where everything is served from. And so we're moving the execution of personalization logic of the Sitecore server to the edge or to the client. So that's what we need to solve. This is the problem that we're trying to solve in order to get Jamstack and Sitecore going. And then we're utilizing CDN to serve your site and take advantage of a global, highly performant delivery network. So this is kind of a statement that we will be, so I'm going to go through some slides right now, explain how it works, how it can be done today, and show a demonstration of it. Um, so Jamstack benefits, and I'll explain why I have those X's there, and I'm going to go into every one of those topics, right? So performance. So you reduce dependency on Sitecore rendering engine. Can you do it right now? Unfortunately, you cannot. You have to kind of, any headless offering that Sitecore has, you have to kind of, you depend on Sitecore rendering engine. You have to have that connectivity. Scalability. Uh, you can easily scale your static content on CDN and without adding more CD servers. You cannot do it with offering that there is right now available, but I think in the future you will be able to do so. But at this moment, even if you're building headless stuff, headless architecture, because of personalization, you'll have to kind of expand your content delivery servers, and just the more traffic you have, the more visitors, you're just going to keep scaling that. Personalization at scale, export your personalization rules from Sitecore and deploy them to CDN. Unfortunately, you cannot do this right now. And front-end modernization is you pre-render your site and minimize, again, depends on origin servers. From my knowledge, I don't think you can do it right now. And obviously cost optimization, reduce infrastructure footprint, and it's kind of going back to scalability and CD service, and leverage modern technology and leverage CDNs. Yeah, unfortunately, at this moment, there's you can't do that. And I think there's a lot of stuff that was announced at Symposium last year, so it's coming up. It's coming soon, I think, with Sitecore as a service. Sorry, Sitecore, yeah, content as a service and SaaS offering that Sitecore is planning to release. But yeah, but this is what we have right now, and these red X's will convert into green check boxes in next slide, and I'll explain how. So again, I want to go back to the slide that we had, caching with personalization. So what we know, what I know right now from the offering that we have from Sitecore, everything like origin based. So you have origin based personalization. So you can really decouple and get your personalized pages cached uh, on CDN. You cannot do that, because if your first visitor will visit the page, they'll get personalized experience. It will be cached, and then all your other visitors will see the same thing. So in that case, you cannot leverage fully kind of the CDN, but in the future you will. So at this moment, I'd like to kind of introduce Uniform and explain what it does and how you can get started with it today to get your all these things that we just discussed, how you can get it done, right? So Uniform is in business to do and build fastest personalized sites possible. That's what Uniform is about. And make fastest personalized sites possible at global scale using your existing DXP, which means Sitecore. So all your existing investment in Sitecore, you don't have to, you can just build on top of that. So Uniform Deploy connects to Sitecore with modern Jamstack tools such as Next.js, Nuxt. If you want to do vanilla JavaScript, you can do that too, but you might probably want to be doing like Next or Gatsby, and you're going to be building that application with these modern tools. And your content management is using Sitecore. Nothing changes. You're still using Sitecore. You're going in your content editor or experience editor and updating your content, making changes there, setting up your personalization. So nothing changes for your content authors, your editors. So then you deploy your static application to a CDN of choice. And it just depends which CDN you choose. Today, I'll be doing a demo with Azure blob storage and static sites there. So that's my choice today. And you never have to worry about personalization that brings down your Sitecore or deliver like painfully slow experience for your visitors. So if, like, for example, somebody is doing something on your Sitecore CD, like production server, for some reason they click restart or something, it will never affect anyone in production. So you don't have to worry about maintenance tasks. You don't have to worry about scheduling maintenance at night when there's no visitors. So it's really, really good. From my experience, uh, whenever you have to do something in production and you're like dependent on your content delivery service, you worry and you postpone your maintenance to weekends and really late at night. So that's really good. And then Uniform Optimize gives you blazing fast personalization with no changes to your business users. So that's kind of where first we need to deploy it and then we need to do the personalization, right? So, and with uniform personalization is decoupled. And as I was talking about Jamstack, that's the decoupling your front end. So now we're able to decouple front end and personalization together, right? And now it's deliver, and now you're kind of like delivering fast Sitecore sites. So Uniform plugs in into Sitecore, helps you extract everything that's needed, build a static site, and deploy it to a CDN of choice. And with that, you're able to have that personalized fast website on Sitecore. So Uniform for Sitecore, yes. So that is what I wanted to say. And this is where I was gonna tell you that now performance, now you're reducing dependency on Sitecore rendering engine. So Sitecore is still there. You're still doing content editing. You're still doing personalization, but now everything is rendered, pre-rendered, as I shared in the previous slide. You don't have to render. So Sitecore rendering engine is not utilized. Everything is pre-rendered at build time. You're using Sitecore rendering engine, but to serve the pages, everything is static and pre-rendered. Scalability. It's easier to scale static content on CDN, obviously, versus adding more CD servers. So CDN handles your traffic spikes, Super Bowl, special sales, doesn't matter. CDN handles that. You have a traffic spike, CDNs are designed to handle that. If CDNs go down globally, then it's a bigger problem just beyond kind of our sites. There's a bigger problem with that. But usually you don't have to worry about like outages in one region or uh, like, for example, if you have multiple regions of your delivery service and one region goes down, certain users don't get to see pages or they see some slowness, everything gets rerouted. You have traffic managers in place. There's just so much maintenance that you need to maintain when you can just static site, deploy to CDN, and just worry about your APIs, making sure your if you have commerce, your credit card is being processed. If you have I don't know, you want to offload information to, let's say, XDB or Google Analytics. Everything is done asynchronously through APIs, so you don't have to worry about uh, like straining your backend servers, and then that will affect your production uh, side. Personalization is the one of the kind of the key things, right? You can export your personalization rules from Sitecore and deploy them to CDN. Uniform allows you to do that. It allows you to extract that data and serve it on CDN with your Jamstack side. I think that's just, I don't know. I can't find the word for it, but it's just great. So what about front-end modernization, right? You're able to pre-render your site, minimize dependency on the origin servers. So now we're talking about like, okay, we had an MVC site and we are able to fix that time to first byte going from, let's say, three to 500 milliseconds to like 50 milliseconds. So once we take care of that and we're decouple and made a Jamstack site, now the next step is kind of start fixing and improving our front end. And that's probably everybody heard of Lighthouse. Everybody like cares about Lighthouse score. That's what you can start doing once you kind of get that foundation, the modern foundation in place. And then cost optimization. So you reduce infrastructure footprint, leverage modern technology, and leverage CDN. And kind of how it works. On the server, everything is rendered at build time, deployed to CDN, and served from CDN. Very simple. Once, if you don't have any dependency on your origin servers, then you don't have to scale your content delivery servers, and it's really like saving cost on infrastructure a lot. You probably heard of Magic Button, maybe. Our CTO has done a lot of presentations, and that's I'll be doing kind of a demo of that today. So our CTO Alex Shiba has done a presentation on Magic Button and some prerequisites for Magic Button. So front end expertise and Sitecore expertise and fully functional Sitecore solution where you can kind of go in and start using that. All right, time for demo. Before, how do you guys like to address Q&A? At the end or right now? Maybe there's some questions from slides.
Um, Usually we do it at the end of the session, so
Perfect.
we can
Okay,
go
then
ahead
I will
with them.
proceed.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, sounds good. So can I just get a check real fast that you can see my screen with the
Yes.
Visual Studio
Visual
Code?
Studio. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, perfect. All right, so what do we have here? I'm gonna show you a few things. So we have our Sitecore. This is running on Docker. Um, Let me enter my secure password. All right, perfect. Never save it. So we have our habitat site here. Very just classic habitat site. Um, nothing fancy here. Everything out of the box, provided by Sitecore from their official Sitecore GitHub repository, and just running on Docker. So let's go ahead and kind of load that page. See how it looks. Okay, so we have our, everybody's probably familiar with it. If you've been working with Sitecore for a long time, you've probably seen this. So just basic site that has a lot of pages here. Read more. Just want to show you that it's a real Sitecore site. So at this moment, and this is the kind of the content of it. So at this moment, I would like to go ahead and start we have a starter kit that's built in Next.js, and we will go ahead and connect to Sitecore instance and render the page in Next.js now. So we're going to uh, extract like and build like a static copy of it. So first, before I do that, let's go ahead and kind of show you what uniform is about, right? What am I really interacting with? So first, let's go ahead and pull up map API maybe. Okay. So once you install Uniform on your Sitecore site, you will see you'll be able to access certain endpoints, and there's different services that we have. So we have a map service, page service, render service. So it pretty much shows you the whole representation of our site. And this is an MVC site. This is not a GSS site. This is just a classic Sitecore MVC site that has, as we can see right here, our structure of a site and all the children. And that's what we see here about habitat, and it shows you what it is. And then you can kind of keep going into it and see what else is in there and what else, and just keep going deeper and deeper and deeper. So if you're familiar with like a front end and how you going in and interacting with different APIs and how you're grabbing props and then grabbing that data and putting it into your application at build time, this is what you will need. You will need to be able to see the structural representation, JSON representation of your Sitecore content tree. The next one I would like to show you is Page API. And what we see here is we see something really interesting. So this is a home page that has, do I need to zoom in? How is it? Let me just zoom in. Let me zoom in so you can see it better. So as you can see on the page, we have certain things that we see renderings, we see data sources, we see personalization, we see testing, tracking, fields. And this is like really, let me just expand everything maybe. So as you can see, we can see what it is. It's a rendering type. We see the rendering path. We see the ID. Um, So pretty much like everything that you need to know when you're building. So going back now to to my slides where I was talking about that you're able to decouple not just the kind of the content, but now you can grab the like marketing attribute, personalization data, all of that, and build your statically generated site. This is what I was talking about. That all of this is available here. So now let's go ahead and, okay, what happened here? Yeah, this is my Docker. So let's go ahead and start this thing. Hopefully nothing crashes today during the demonstration, but if it does, I apologize ahead of time. Okay, so now we can go ahead and load it on port 3000. And as you can see, I am running my Next.js app. Where is it? Let's see. One sec. Okay, there we go. When I'm running my Next.js app, I made a call to an API endpoint, and I'm using environment variables, and I'm able to grab the map JSON as a service endpoint, and that is where I am able to see what I have on the page and build out that static page. So as you can see, there's zero code written in Next. So if you've been playing around, or you're familiar with, or you're a front-end developer, then you probably know the structure of like how everything is nested in Next.js and in React. And as you can see, there's nothing in here. There's just some sample stuff that I have in here, and there's one page. That's it. So, and as you can see, there's much more content here. It's way many more pages. So demo, modules, feature demo. Let's go ahead and find that. Modules, features, demo. So let's go see what happens in our call right here. What happens? So as you can see, the HTTP request is incoming and I'm grabbing that. So essentially, once I run my build process, it's gonna go ahead and go through all of that stuff, and uh, it will build that static package that later I'll be able to deploy to uh, Azure. What else can I show you here before I start deploying? Okay, I think that's good for now. So let's go now back. Let's go down to Azure. So what am I doing here in Azure is I have created a storage account just prior to our call. Let me go ahead and show you that I don't have anything here. It's empty. Containers should be empty as well. There's nothing in here. Step one will be to, after we create it, we'll go ahead and enable static sites here. Static website. We'll go ahead and enable it, save it. So this might take a little time to load. So just let's go ahead and save it somewhere where we can. Okay. Okay, next we'll go ahead and we'll have to go and grab um, our access keys, right? So because we're going to be deploying from my local instance, I need some kind of a connection string, right? So I'm going to click on show keys, and I'm going to grab the connection string, show keys, grab this long string, and paste it in here. And as you can see, we have everything in our starter kit. We have everything pre-built, and we're setting what container we want to be built. We're telling uniform publish target to be Azure Blob, and then we're using uniform publish provider Azure Blob AZ copy path. So pretty much I have this tool, and I'll show you what it is. It's just azcopy.exe. It pretty much does. It's gonna grab my exported package and deploy it to Azure. So let me go ahead and paste it here. That long connection string. Let's see. Default connection string. Just want to make sure it's the right one. I think it's the right one. So let's save it. Okay, hide keys. I don't need them anymore. So now we can go ahead and we're going to go ahead and stop the service here that we were just testing. Sorry. Okay, we're going to stop it. And we're going to go ahead and start our Sitecore Sitecore service. We're going to be listening to our Sitecore instance. Go ahead and click start. So now it's create optimized production build. It's validating everything. Okay. Okay, so HTTP service ready on port 3000. So now I can go into my Sitecore, and let's go ahead and first validate that there's nothing in our container, right? So go to overview, containers. We got web created and it's empty. So there's nothing there. So let's go ahead and now go to our dashboard, desktop, and we'll do a smart publish. Smart publish, English, publish. So while this is publishing, we're going to see, let's see side by side how it acts. So deploy status request is coming in. And the reason I want to show it side by side is because it really does not take a long time. And this is a full habitat site that will be deployed. And fingers crossed, nothing will fail right now. But it should take no more than a few minutes, maybe a little more, but definitely not hours. Okay, so that has been deployed, received deploy request. Deployment is complete. Let's go ahead and see what happened here. Did something show up? All right, perfect. So what we just observed is that I was able to publish the whole Sitecore site. Uniform service was listening to Sitecore changes, and then as it updated, it was generated and deployed to Azure. And we can go ahead and now visit the URL, and we'll see that. We'll see that. Sorry, I'm trying to find the URL where I pasted it. Let's see. It's right here, user group. So if I did everything correct, we should be able to see. Voila. So let me go ahead and close this guy. So our site is now statically generated, deployed to Sitecore. So let me show you one more thing. I'm going to go ahead and update because some of you may think, okay, this is great. This is small site. What happens when we have a lot of pages and customers just keep updating stuff? So let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead to content editor. Let's pick a page. Let's go ahead and put it right here. Let's see, what do I want? I want maybe, what is this? Modules. Or maybe let's see, modules, feature, the feature layer. Let's just change this to, how does that sound? Save it. Let's go ahead and publish this item. I don't need sub items. I don't need related items. I just want to publish this item. So let's go check what's going on in our, okay, receiving deploy request status. So just one page. Okay, we got our execution of AZ copy, deploying it to the blob storage. Okay, so it has been updated, skipped. So we deployed from master to web. And once it landed in web, we were able to deploy it to the site. Where did that URL go? Okay, it's right here. Boom. So in a matter of, I don't know, a minute, we were able to deploy it to Azure Blob Storage. So, and this is a statically generated site. And let's see, where are we? We're in modules, features. Let's see if they have time right here. Is it 11:19? Yeah, my local time is almost 11:30 at night. But yeah, it has been updated, as you can see. What else I can show you? I can also show you that we have built our like a debugging tracker that we can debug our sites, and we can see that everything that we're doing is being tracked on Azure. So we're not. This is not from Sitecore. This is not served from Sitecore. It is statically generated site, and as you can see, we're tracking the visitors and all the information that's coming from Sitecore. So nothing really changes for your development and for your content authors, your personalization. None of that changes. Uh, I think this also I wanted to show you this before I go ahead and conclude the because there's nothing really I can demonstrate on Akamai. I mean, I could, but the deploy is much more interesting. So um, one of the other offerings that Uniform has for Sitecore customers is Uniform Optimized with Akamai, and you can reuse the existing infrastructure if you don't want to go kind of the Jamstack way, and you have customers that are interested in just caching and having personalization on the edge, a real edge, by utilizing edge handlers. Sorry, not edge handler. Edge side includes. That is what you're able to do. So what happens here? You render a page and expose personalization details, and kind of what we just did right now with from Sitecore Uniform. It's on Sitecore CD. Then you're able to cache the pages and execute personalization rules, and it's all happening in Akamai CDN, and you capture analytics and personalization activity. And by utilizing uniform runtime services, you're able to dispatch it to Sitecore, Salesforce, Oracle, Google Analytics, whatever you prefer. This concludes my presentation for today, and I would love to take any questions. If you have any questions, you want to see another demo of something that I went super fast through, here's my email, tm@uniform.dev. Shoot me an email, and you can probably go to our website, uniform.dev, and see what we offer for Sitecore customers. Thank you.
Yep. So we have few questions, Tony. We can go one by one for that.
Sure.
First is generation of static files with HTML markup is hooked in published pipelines of Sitecore. Is this understanding correct?
One more time. I'm
Generation,
reading. I'm reading as I
yeah.
get it. Generation of statics. Okay. Generation of statics files with HTML markup is hooked into published pipeline of Sitecore. Yes, that's correct. So once publishing is kind of completed, then you're able. So think about this. If I need to be able to render the page uh, and then build it. So generation of static files is coming after you're done publishing. So yes, you're correct. Yes. Can we?
Next,
Yeah,
yeah.
go ahead.
Can we use it for Sitecore Commerce or EXM?
We have not come around commerce customers by with using uniform, and I I think commerce is a bit complex topic, and it's you can definitely try to use it with Commerce, but just there's going to be a lot of development that you'll have to do because the way commerce is working. So if please email me, and then maybe we can discuss it, because uh, yeah, it's I need to understand specific scenarios. Um, and
Yeah.
when you're talking about EXM, email experience manager is I guess that is just a processor. Your what specifics? Can you maybe elaborate in chat what specifics you're interested in about EXM? Because there's no static site generation for your. I guess you're interested in forms, right? So we do support forms, if that is that question. But if not, please go ahead and add in chat. We'll specify.
Yeah. Next is content from Sitecore makes sense, but how about some dynamic functionalities like login
Mhm.
authentication? So any
So
code examples? Yeah.
yes, yeah. So yes, that's a very good question. And as I mentioned previously, if you have any dynamic functionality, you will route it back to Sitecore. If your login authentication is in Sitecore. For example, if you want to uh, leverage, I don't know, you have something that really requires to go back to origin server, then yes, you will just build it into Next.js, and we have some code samples of how that works. But what it's going to be pretty much a Next.js implementation, I guess a React front end implementation. So what you're going to do um, a fetch. You're going to fetch data differently, and that's all. So you will leave that component, specific component of specific page, specific area of your site, uh, be dynamically rendered, let's say. So it's not going to be statically generated. At build time, you will kind of skip and make sure that it's routed back to Sitecore for every request. You provide developer license. We are planning to have a community license, yes. And we will be making announcements soon. At the moment, there's pl- please email me, let me know. We can definitely uh, make it happen. But right now, there's not official offering that we are marketing, but it is coming. So we have it in plans. It should be sometime this month, beginning of next month. So we're just trying to wrap up that internally. Yeah, you're welcome. How do you restrict access to secure pages? So if you are building your so uniform is enabling technology to get you to Jamstack, to get to like what are we doing here is we're shifting our focus from building sites like in MVC, for example, building them in React, right, or Next.js. So the security functionality, there's multiple ways to do it. You can secure it by utilizing third-party authentication and building it into your React application, or you can leverage existing Sitecore security providers and build it into Sitecore. But then you're kind of defeating the purpose of Jamstack, because now you're routing and proxying everything through Sitecore. And if there's something, something goes wrong, for example, in uh, Sitecore, then nobody can log in into your site because the content delivery server is affected or some sort. But you can do either way. It's kind of your choice and how you restrict it. But probably the best way to do, if you're doing Jamstack, you want to offload that to like a third party like Auth or I don't know, Firebase or one of those providers who specialize in that um, uh, security offerings, and then utilize APIs to kind of secure those pages, those routes, those specific components for maybe. So that would be, but that's just my personal recommendation. There's different ways to do it.
Yeah, so I guess that's the all questions we answered. Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
Perfect. Perfect.
So, yeah, if you still have any questions, you can email to Tony as he mentioned, or you can DM Sugin on Twitter as well. We will try to answer your questions at our best. So, yeah, thank you, Tony, for this very informative session. It sounds a good connector, and yep, and
Yeah, definitely.
thank you all for joining.
Yes. Thank you, everybody. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to reach out to me, either my email, Twitter, or go to our website, and we'll be happy to help you out. Thank you.
Thank you all.